if we give them credit and the freedom to choose which health plan suits them better, they still have a choice. They're not restricted to, the government is giving me free healthcare, that's great, but I have to do this plan. I think I am international, and I think I could bring a different perspective to the show and to the group, because I've lived in a third world country. I've lived through war and famine and, you know, racism and you name it, you know, and I think that would be a hugely beneficial part to the show, to see somebody who isn't from this area but being able to apply what I know in my past to the solutions that we might have to find for the situation that you give us.
This is a packet that we made for you, and these are all the places that we went and stuff like that, and different booklets telling you about insurance plans and stuff like that, so you can look at now, or, you know, for your future and stuff like that. So this is the gift from us to you, and that's for you.
And then we were thinking about your future, and we're thinking, okay, so you're saving money now, and you want to go graduate, and once you're done with that, you're going to go into the business field. And we were speaking to our experts, and they told us to advise you that when you're looking for a job, no matter whether the job is your number one pick or not, because you're probably going to decide, you know, have like a top 10 list of what your preferred job opportunities would be. When you're interviewing, make sure that you find out every single bit of information about how they cover you, how they cover your dependents, and everything like that. Our group, because we're so diverse and different, you know, we each came from a very different place, and we had one thing in common, which was, you know, just we wanted to help society. We wanted to make people aware of the problems and show that, you know, students can make a difference. Students can, you know, just you have to be willing to do something, and it's like baby steps, and you can't just picture changing the world in a day, and make people realize it takes effort.
Actually, you fell into a income bracket that is like probably the hardest bracket to find insurance for, because you don't make enough to necessarily easily pay for the lowest insurance, but then you make too much to qualify for all of the public insurance. So yeah, it was hard, but I do think the solution that we found should work.
Yeah. Actually, you're like a lot of people in California, a lot of people around the U.S. who, you know, are sort of in this place where, well, I'm not really sick, I don't really think I need health insurance, it's certainly not worth $80 a month.
We are, as part of a bigger project, supporting a new act called SB 840, and it was what that act is going to do is it's going to basically provide health care for all of Californians, which you being in California would apply, and you would automatically be a part of it just as being a citizen, so there'd be no paperwork or anything, and in the end you'd no longer be paying fees to an insurance company, but rather 4% tax on your income. And when you look at a 4% tax, it's significantly smaller than what you're doing.
Does that seem fair, 4%, or does that seem a little high, or?
I think 4% is fine. I mean, as long as it's on a scale where, you know, even if you're making more money, 4%, yeah, you're paying more, but, you know, in the long run, it helps everybody out, so.
Exactly. And everybody's covered.
Which is the way it should be.
Exactly.
Because right now I can't feel my fingers.
You can't feel your fingers?
No, I have pulled something, so I can't feel these 3 fingers.
Address obesity, right?
True. Well, see, obesity is not the cause doesn't start with obesity. It
Well,
starts
this is
with,
obesity.
you know,
That's the idea. Is that
lack of exercise and poor diet.
And diabetes. Yeah. So I meant to say more.
Results in obesity,
healthy
which
living,
results in
like
diabetes too. So
healthy
living.
And then we wanted to do domestic abuse. I think, yeah, in the beginning of the show, when they announced what the challenge was, I was like, oh, great. So I'm going to be the dumb one who knows nothing. And, like, I know I would come out as looking as, like, some girl who has been given health insurance all of her life, so I've never even looked into it. I know health insurance is you pay some money, and if you get hurt, you're covered. But if you don't get hurt, nothing happens with the money. And that's about the extent of what I knew. And so that made me really insecure at first. I was really nervous that I wasn't going to know anything. I wasn't going to be able to contribute to the group. But after researching a lot and after talking over with my group members and talking especially to the experts who just are so knowledgeable, I really feel like I could almost become an expert on health insurance and almost everything if anyone wants to know now. So, yeah, so even if we don't win this challenge, I kind of feel like I'm a little bit more set for life, and I'm a little bit more understanding of what other people are going through who don't have the same privileges that I have.
There are so many factors involved. It's not just, you know, finding health care. I mean, you know, handling the health care where everyone's covered. It's also, okay, how do you prevent things from happening? And we're talking about preventative care, and that gets into an entirely new ocean of topics. I mean, domestic violence, child abuse, alcohol and drug abuse. I mean, there's so much there. Gang violence. Number one cause of injury to women is domestic violence. Number one cause of injury to men, violence from other men. So violence is a huge problem in our society. You want to start with what we decided for Brock?
For Brock, okay.
Who did you have for your person that was uninsured?
We had Caroline Lee,
What was she,
student,
student?
San Jose State.
She's a student, yeah.
See, Brock wasn't a student, he was working temp.
He was a
so-
student, right?
Yeah, he was a student. No, he worked 40 hours a week, but he worked as a temp, so he doesn't qualify, under any insurance plan, so he didn't have insurance. Plus, after his expenses, he didn't have any money left.
But he wasn't eligible for any of the health class.
They would actually tax everybody in the community pays taxes.
There's healthcare coverage in California, at least available on the ballot.
I always had this thing like anti-government, anti-this. The government always trying to get over on us corporations and still. I mean, that was like my whole mentality or whatever. And so like going meeting with these different experts and meeting people, I come to realize, okay, Americans, we do, it is a lot of money in medical insurance. Just from what I learned from our research, it is a lot of money, and there is people that do care. It is programs that do try to help, people in situations with medical terms or whatever. So I always thought it wasn't like that. It's like, well, people on Medi-Cal, the only people which I'm on Medi-Cal, the only reason we're on it because we dead broke. And then the people who have insurance because they got jobs, and that's just how I looked at it. So it changed my view in a lot of ways.
Well, I really learned a lot because I'm not from this country, and so I just got an insight into a different view, different perspective. And I just, we're one world, like, this is a problem. Every society is divided by race, by income, by all these health problems. I mean, people have severe health problems, other people are completely healthy, and all of these are real big issues, But I mean, the fact that we actually got to speak to the people that instead of just presuming things and being negative about it, we got to ask the people what we wanted to know, get the answers from the right people, made a big difference and really opened my eyes.
I heard that the judges are really hard on people, so I'm a little bit afraid.
Question-wise.
Yeah. But we do know the answers, I think. So
We know all the answers.
that, or like I'm afraid that I'll miss a flashcard and the whole speech will be out of order. That would be super.
My hair was kind of poofy, and then the buzzer was cutting through. I'm like,
Your hair is not
it really does not sound right. It sounds like a broken machine. Like, no, it's fine. I'm like, no, it doesn't sound right. It's pulling my hair every time you move it through. And he's like, okay, so they put another thing on, and then when they were cutting, every other line was like a bald spot, and I was like,
Oh.
I'm late for work. Can you just shave it all off?
Can't you just do it at home? Awesome. What are the warning signs of a heart attack? Like how many lives would that be?
And it covers those who are not covered. Is that correct? Is it covered all? It covers.
Congratulations, Team 4.
Bothered me? Yeah, I know that. But what bothered me is that we were talking about that 840 thing with Christine, and we were like, yeah, we should implement that, and we just focused on something else. And I mean, we both had the same two ideas. They just focused on it more. But yeah. I guess the best team won with the best presentation. So
I think it was good.
We were
there
close.
is more closer to coming to reality.
Yeah.
This is about cooperation stuff, and all of us have been working so hard the last several weeks.
All our ideas together.
I mean, I would like, what I would like to see is like all 12 of us, we worked our butts off the last several weeks, to I don't know, they should give us all scholarships and just split the amount. It would be less for each person, but
It's fair.
but then we won't have a winners and losers situation. Right. It's like all or nothing, and that's not fair.
I'm excited. I just don't know how we're gonna go about it, but the topic.
In 2 weeks, we're gonna have to come up with a lot in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks is kind of scary.
To make a high school curriculum, high school curriculums are tough to make.
Guys think of the challenge?
I like it.
I'm excited.
I shop. That's the problem. I shop.
Easier. I get why credit card like debt is a problem. I don't understand why consumerism is a
I
problem.
can see both as a problem.
How?
You need to take some classes in the sociology department.
No, but it helps the economy. Like because we've done research that if you can increase spending on like goods by 1%, it brings down everything in interest rates and everything. But I love the idea that we get to teach high schoolers. I love teaching. That's what I used to want to do, and I think it's so much fun. Yeah.
Well, I guess you could kind of say that I overspent when I bought my truck. You know, it cost me $23,000, and I'm still working to pay it off. Got about 3 more years till I'm done.
Overspent. I think we've all overspent, but I'm young and I'm single, so I can spend.
Last thing I bought on an impulse was a new surfboard.
I find myself buying all the time. I'm a shopper, love clothes and accessories, so stressed. Maybe when I just want a new outfit, I'll go to the store and shop.
Right now, I got about $4 grand on one card and another grand on 2 other cards, so like close to 6,000 or 7,000 in credit card debt.
I've overspent many times. Actually, I used to work at Bloomingdale's, and what happened was they give you a credit card in order to get your discount. So I had like a limit of like, I don't know, $600-700, and I went over that limit like 3 or 4 times, and so my parents actually forced me to quit because I was spending way too much money there. Because I couldn't help it. I really like shopping.
Macy's, JCPenney's, 9 West, I mean, everywhere.
Swiping a credit card seems less like money and more like a free purchase. So when it comes to paying them off, the tendency is to pay the minimum payment, and it takes a very long time to pay off the debt with the minimum payment. With credit card interest rates at 17 to 21%, your debt can double in 4 years if you're only paying the minimum credit card payment.
How do you manage credit as a consumer in a society that basically solicits you to buy everything, including the kitchen sink?
I say this is a low number, but I have heard the statistics that the average balance on unsecured credit, meaning that you have no collateral, it's just credit cards, is around $9,000 per household and youth. What I see on paper, the actuality is when I see somebody's credit application, I am seeing $20,000 to $30,000 being the average in credit cards. Plus, if they have a home, they have a mortgage.
To me, it really is a question of increased materialism in our society. We really have a lot in terms of desire to purchase material. And that's really increased greatly in American society, particularly in the last 120 years or so, where we have this kind of situation where we really convince ourselves that some of our wants are actually needs. So some of the things that we might want, we kind of have this idea that we have to have it, and our life will cease if we don't get it. You got to have the latest, people want to have an iPod, you got to have the DVD player, you got to have this brand of clothing.
What are the possible solutions on an individual level and a collective level?
Part of it really starts on the individual level with people being able to kind of have a sense of self-worth that's a little bit disconnected from what they consume. When you can look at yourself as a worthwhile person outside of whether or not you match all the latest fashion, outside of whether or not you have the coolest gadgets, outside of whether or not you have access to all the latest high-tech materials and things like that, then you start to see that people don't really, they might not be willing to do as much to try to get their hands on that material. They might not be willing to compromise their own morals as much. They might not be willing to engage in certain types of behavior as much because they got self-worth. And they have a self-worth that comes from the inside.